The Petr Yan Sean O'Malley fight is one that I am probably most excited about in this card. A really fascinating matchup, and I think it's one of the sort of more difficult fights to predict on this card. I think Sean O'Malley is a very interesting up and I guess you can call him up and coming fighter in the UFC because he has all the fascinating attributes that make for a good fighter. He has the attributes that make for an Israel Adesanya. Of course, not as decorated of a striker or as decorated of a background in kickboxing or any particular martial arts, but he does have the reach advantage over his most of his opponents, all of his opponents. I would say. He does have the speed advantage over the vast majority of his opponents, and he does have a significant skill advantage over a lot of his opponents. And we saw that in his last fight. We saw that in his previous fights as well. Even in the Chito Vera fight, in the beginning parts of the fight, Chito Vera is a bit of a slow starter or a bit of a patient fighter, let me say. And in the beginning of that fight, you saw Sean O'Malley just go fast, fast, fast. On the other hand, you have Petr Yan, who is one of the most technical fighters and absolutely fascinating to watch, especially from someone who's practicing martial arts such as myself and is on the shorter side with fighting my opponents. A lot of the time, it's difficult to figure out how you're gonna reach them without them hitting you or getting on the inside of your opponents and or countering them and sort of hitting them without them hitting you. And once they have a significant reach advantage, especially if they have a speed advantage such as Sean O'Malley, that is a very difficult fighter to fight. It's a very difficult fight to get into. So my prediction for this fight, funny enough, after all of that being said, is I believe that Petr Yan is probably going to win. And to be honest, just logically, I would say a 29-28 probably victory. He's probably going to get the second and the third round. And seeing that he's a slow starter, Petr Yan is probably going to give up the first round just like he does in a lot of his fights. However, I would love to be surprised. I would love to be wrong about that. I would love to see him just march forward and just beat on Sean O'Malley from the beginning. Another thing that Petr might have an advantage in my opinion, even though Sean's jiu-jitsu is really good, and he does not show us a lot of his ground game, Sean doesn't. And Petr did not do great in his previous fight with Aljamain Sterling when it came to the wrestling or ground game aspect of it. But I think he probably does have the ground advantage. And I think he also does have, funny enough, as good as Sean O'Malley is, as fascinating as he is, as fast as he is, as devastating as he is, with some of his shots, sometimes, depending on the fighter that he's fighting, like when he fought Wineland, he knocked him out with one straight shot. When he fought Chris Montano, or however, I'm sorry, I'm not sure how his last name is pronounced, but when he fought him, he couldn't knock him out for forever in that fight. He threw everything at him and could not knock him out. So I'm not really sure how much power Sean O'Malley packs in his shots. I'm not really 100% sure about that. And I'm not sure how much he's going to hurt Petr Yan versus how much Petr is going to hurt him while fighting. Another thing is Petr has this high guard sort of stance, high guard defense, and then he has a sort of a Muay Thai sort of stance, which is going to be interesting because Sean is probably going to go for the body a lot because if you are the taller fighter and the faster fighter and possibly even more flashy, probably more flashy fighter out of the two, if you're gonna go in like Aljamain went against Yan and you're gonna throw everything at him in the first round, you're not gonna hit him with as many shots as you'd like to hit him. If you're Sean O'Malley, you're probably not going to hit Petr Yan with as many shots as you'd like to hit him because Petr has that high guard and he's very good defensively. And if you try to go to the body, which I suspect Sean might try to go to the body with spinning kicks, etc., Petr has good defense there as well, and he is probably going to catch and sweep a lot of those attacks, especially when it comes to kicks. So I guess we'll see how it plays out. I'm definitely giving the edge to Petr. All he has to do is fight a cold, calculated, intelligent fight, He has to know how to counter O'Malley. I'm sure the reach of O'Malley is going to be an issue, just like Sandhagen versus Jan was a bit of an issue when it came to the reach in the beginning of the fight, but you saw how Jan sort of took over after that. Aljamain versus Jan in the first fight that they had, also Aljamain had a reach advantage and also that and speed advantage, um, athleticism advantage, and that caused Piotr some issues in the first fight as well in the beginning. But Piotr is just the more technical fighter. He's the more fundamentally sound fighter when it comes to striking. Whether that's against Aljo, even though Aljo had an amazing second fight, or against Sean O'Malley, especially in my opinion. And we'll see how Sean O'Malley, after sort of that beginning fury that he's gonna have in that fight, we'll see how he does because those fighters like Sean O'Malley and Conor McGregor, if they're matched with a closely skilled fighter, and they no wait let me rephrase that. If they're matched with an opponent who's closely good in terms of fighting in general, but they tend to have more skills naturally. So what I'm saying is, in the first like minute of the fight, they tend to show off um, more decorated striking, such as Conor McGregor when he's fighting a lot of his opponents, like Nate Diaz, like in the second, I think it was the second Nate Diaz fight, where he knocked him down multiple times in the first round. Sean O'Malley is sort of similar in that aspect because he is the better striker within the first minute or so. He has more striking skill, in my opinion, than Piotr. But that being said, as long as Piotr can just be there defensively, um, Sean O'Malley is going to get tired, and then all of that ability is just going to mean nothing after that, in my opinion. So I might be wrong, but let's see how this fight plays out. I think Piotr should have it, and this is an exciting, exciting fight. If you're an MMA fan, this is an exciting fight, and I think Piotr is going to surprise with a few sweeps and a few takedowns as well. But this is going to be an exciting fight, and this is going to be a good fight, and I am not. I'll be honest. I'm not a Sean O'Malley hater because he seems like a good dude, but I am not a fan of that kid either. And I do think that part of me wants him to sort of sustain a legitimate loss, not like the Cheeto Vera loss, which is legitimate in my opinion. I mean, his eyes rolled back in that fight for sure, in the ground and pound aspect of it. But he's going to have an excuse for that fight, for losing that fight. I want him to sustain an actual loss because, for multiple reasons, and I'm going to sound like a hater here, but it is what it is. One reason is because he is not a humble fighter. He is not, which is fine, completely fine. He is not a fighter that is as good as he seems at the moment, in my opinion. So I think once the reality matches the delusion that is there, even though he's an excellent, excellent, excellent fighter to make it to the UFC, excellent fighter to make it to the stage that he's made it out, excellent fighter. But I think he's more delusional than that, and I think he thinks he's a lot better than the vast majority of the fighters there, and he just has so many physical holes and weaknesses in his style, which is a whole other video. That I think Piotr exposing those is gonna be a growing is gonna be nice to see for me as a fan, and it's gonna be a growing opportunity for Sean O'Malley in the future. So we'll see how that goes. Best of luck for both fighters. Obviously, I do not wish harm on anyone stepping into the octagon. I'm just excited about this fight, and it's going to be a dope, dope, dope fight. And if Sean O'Malley surprises me, I'll come here and I'll eat my words, and I'll tell you, I'll say it like it is. So, peace out. My next video is going to be about Aljamain Sterling and TJ Dillashaw, which is an exciting fight as well. UFC 280. That card is good.